YouTube, what it do? It's your boy Bako99, and how was week 1 for you? Mine was pretty good. In DraftKings, I went 8 of 8 on my 50-50 double ups, which I told you about, and I'll put the link to that video on my tips of how to build your bankroll in your daily fantasy. Mine worked out perfectly. I know a couple of friends, my tips worked out perfectly playing these 50-50 double ups. So want to keep this train rolling. Right now I have week 2 rankings for you, and remember, these rankings, it's not all about the player you're picking. You have to think of the contest you're in. You have to think of how much salary it is, how you build your team to get the most value. So some of these plays, you know, or players, shall I say, that you see these names in my rankings, you know, just remember that these are plays also with value. So we got players that are going to be studs, then we also got players that are going to be good, but they should produce real well relative to how much they cost you in your salary. So keep that in mind as we get into week 2. Peace. So to kick things off again, we're going to start with the quarterbacks, and the first ranking on my list is Eli Manning, and this is pretty much because he's going against the Saints, which have absolutely no defense. So Sterling Shepard, Beckham, Cruz should have a field day in this game. I wouldn't be surprised if Eli put up more than 350 yards in this game, so he is definitely at the top of the rankings this week for the quarterbacks. And you may play a little hefty salary in FanDuel and DraftKings at 8,100 and 7,600. So I would say this is definitely should be in a cash game play. In the tournaments, you may want to fade him a little bit with like a Cam Newton. So let's go ahead and drop down to him. We got Cam Newton. His floor is about 20 points, and when I say his floor, meaning probably the worst he's going to do is anywhere from 17 to 20 points, especially against the 49ers. So it's nothing but upside. And in the tournament, you know, a lot of people are going to get Eli Manning, you know, a lot of people are going to get Drew Brees. So I say in the tournament you can fade him, and Cam Newton would be a good choice as well. Coming in at rank number 3 is Derek Carr. I just feel they're going to light up the scoreboard this week, you know, against the Falcons. The Falcons have a good line and linebackers, but they really struggle, and they're really depleted at the cornerback position. So I can see Amari Cooper, Crabtree going off for big games. And actually, the two matchups of the cornerbacks, the cornerback who will be sticking to Amari Cooper and the cornerback who will be sticking to Crabtree actually has a better matchup against his cornerback. So don't be surprised if he goes off for some good amount of points this week as well. And then coming in number 4, we have Joe Flacco going against the Browns. You're going to see a theme as we go along week to week of the teams, the bottom feeders of the defense that we pick on. Right now, you want to pick on the Saints, you want to pick on the Browns, you want to pick on the Chargers, you want to pick on the Colts. So a lot of these rankings of these quarterbacks that are up here are strictly because of the matchup. Because in daily fantasy, remember, we got to go week to week when we doing our players. We don't just pick what players we like every week. We got to look at matchups. So Joe Flacco has a really good matchup against the Browns with all the weapons that Joe Flacco has. Mike Wallace being a good deep threat. So I have him coming in at the ranking in number 4 position. Then we got Blake Bortles once again picking on the Chargers. You know, it's going to be a high scoring game on the Jacksonville end. So Denard Robinson, you know, and Hearns should have good games this week against the Chargers. Horrible defense. And then we have Aaron Rodgers. Now the Vikings do have a pretty good defense, but I mean, Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers. He's always, you know, good for 2 or 3 touchdowns. Because of that matchup, and because of the matchup with like the Giants and the Saints and games like that, Rodgers may not be owned in a lot of tournaments played, so he could be a good quarterback if you want to go into the tournament. Now his tag is high, 8,700 on FanDuel and 7,800 on DraftKings. So you can need to have some good picks when you get down to your second, third receivers, where you can save some money, good value picks. But Aaron Rodgers wouldn't be a bad play today. Now here's a real sneaky play for a tournament. If you're really trying to go all or nothing, Josh McCown. I know he plays for the Browns. The Ravens have an okay defense, but Josh McCown's, you know, can sling the rock. And I know Barnes put up 0 points last week, but I think that's going to change because McCown does like to throw the Barnes a lot. So he could be a possible sneaky play. His salary is only $6,000 on FanDuel and $5,000 on DraftKings. So you'll have some good value where you can kind of stack up at your running back receiver position. We got Andrew Luck. I would say this is another good tournament play, not a cash game play. Broncos have a good defense, but the Colts are going to be bad. They're going to be down. They're going to have to throw the ball. So Luck will be throwing the ball all game. The more you throw, the more possible fantasy points. Now his salary is $8,500 on FanDuel. So there really are other better plays than Andrew Luck. But if you're doing one of the tournaments and you want to get a player that probably would be low owned, Andrew Luck would be a good one. We got Matt Ryan and Trevor Siemian to finish off the rankings. And Matt Ryan and Trevor Siemian is more as a good, just for as a good the value play where you can save some money on your salary and you can kind of stack up. Of course, I would go with Matt Ryan over Trevor Siemian, but if you want to do another little sneaky play, I know Trevor Siemian won't be owned a lot. So if he puts up, anywhere from 15 to 20 points, that's still good because you'll probably be able to stack your other positions with some elite talent. Now on to the running backs. The first person I have on my ranking is Ezekiel Elliott. Now I know he didn't impress too much the first game, but he's a rookie and this is his first game. But I really think that they're going to pound the rock against the Redskins. The Dallas Cowboys do like to play kind of a grinded out type of game. So I'm actually real low on Dez Bryant this week, but I'm really super high on Ezekiel Elliott. And it don't matter if it's in a cash game or a tournament. Ezekiel Elliott should be a really good play this week. The number 2 ranking running back I have is Lamar Miller. I don't see the Chiefs and the Colts game being a high scoring game. And Lamar Miller damn near got 30 carries last week, so I can see the Houston running the ball a lot. Lamar Miller is the featured back, should get more than enough touches, which should equate to more than enough fantasy points. So here's another good running back that's good for tournaments or cash games. Next we have David Johnson. They're playing the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers give up a lot of passing to running backs, when they play their opponents. So David Johnson, people still kind of don't, I think, give him the respect he's due. He is a really good, talented running back. They can also line up in the wideout and catch passes. So if you're on DraftKings, know that they're a full point PPR. FanDuel's a half point PPR, so keep that in mind. So I really like him in DraftKings better than FanDuel, but he's still the top running back for this week and should put up a lot of points against the Buccaneers. And next we have Ryan Matthews. He was solid in week 1 with 77 rushing yards and a TD. He did not get any receptions with how the game flow worked out, but still expect him to be more involved in the game this week. So he is a good play against the Chicago Bears. And then we have CJ Anderson. Like I said, the Broncos take on the Colts, and that couldn't stop the Lions last week at all. So I expect even more from CJ Anderson. Anderson had 129 yards and 2 TDs in week 1 versus the Panthers, and the running game is vital to the Broncos' success, especially with Trevor Siemian. So he is a really strong play for both for cash games and tournament plays this week. And then next we have Rashad Jennings. No one's going to feel too excited about Jennings, but like I said, he's going against New Orleans defense. He had 19 touches for 78 yards last week against the Cowboys, but the Saints defense we all know was awful. So he is a really good play. Far as the value, as you can see that he's $6,300 on FanDuel and $5,600 on DraftKings. So definitely, keep him in mind as you're building out your team and you kind of need that value pick at the running back position. And next on the list we have LeGarrette Blount. I just feel with this game, because New England Patriots is the hardest team to try to pick which running back is going to do what week to week, because Bill Belichick is all about the scheme. He preys on the weakness of the opposing team. So whatever the weakness is, that's what he's going to focus on that game. So with this and with the Dolphins, I do see the Patriots getting out to a lead, and I do see them grinding out the clock with LeGarrette Blount. So he's a really good play for your value. So whether you're in the tournament or cash games and you picking a lot of studs in your lineup, and then you need that good value play for the little bit of salary, then LeGarrette Blount is a really good one that you want to go with. And then next we have Carlos Hyde. San Francisco had the running game going strong in the preseason, averaging 184 yards per game, and so they looking pretty decent. No team will play at a faster pace than the 49ers in the Chip Kelly offense, so Hyde didn't find a ton of room last week, but did come up with 2 TDs. So I kind of expect the same thing. They're going to run a ton of plays. Carolina Panthers is a top-rated defense and a top-rated defense pick for this week, but still, with all the amount of volume plays, Carlos Hyde is still always going to be a good value for this week. And next we have D'Angelo Williams. D'Angelo Williams carved up the Bengals last year, and you already saw his performance in week 1. So D'Angelo Williams is a really, really, really good tournament and a really good cash game play, because I got to say, you got to take advantage while these players, because after week 3 Bell's coming back, so you really want to try to take advantage of the last couple games. D'Angelo Williams has to be the featured back, so he makes a ranking this week. And then Justin Forsett, once again, you're going against the Browns. Justin Forsett is the main back, is going to get most of the workload, so he's coming in as another value pick for your daily fantasy. On to the wide receivers. At the top of the list, we have Odell Beckham. I mean, the Saints defense is atrocious, so I wouldn't be surprised if Beckham goes for over 150 yards receiving against the Saints. So he is a must play. It's in some lineups you have to have him as a must play, whether cash games or tournaments, for this week. Next we have Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper is facing the Falcons pass defense that allowed 281 yards and 4 touchdowns to Tampa Bay. So Cooper is another must play. The Raiders should light up the scoreboard against the Falcons. Next we have Emmanuel Sanders. I mean, they're going against the Colts, so whether you get Demaryius Thomas or Emmanuel Sanders, they should kill the Colts in the past game. So he's another strong play this week in your daily fantasy. And then we have AJ Green. It don't matter if it's Revis Island, or who's guarding him. I'm going with the latter, because AJ Green is going to put up his numbers in that offense. They're going against the Steelers. The Steelers pass defense did look a little bit better this week, but at the same time, they're still are in the bottom half of the league in pass defense, so AJ Green should have a big game. We got Michael Floyd. I think the Arizona Cardinals are going to put up a lot of points against the Bucs, so Michael Floyd is a good play with that offense over there in Arizona. We got Eli Rogers. Eli Rogers is going to be playing the slot the whole game, so Antonio Brown is going to get his, but Pac-Man Jones is going to be on Antonio Brown and probably have a lot of focus on him, so I believe a lot of the leftovers are going to come to Eli Rogers playing in the slot, so he's a real sneaky play this week and a good value play at only $5,500 on FanDuel and $4,100 on DraftKings. You can't beat that for the amount of points you want to get out of him. Now, when I put these players up on the high rankings, please remember that it doesn't mean that they're going to go off of 40 points. This means that they should meet their salary. So if Eli Rogers' salary is $5,500, the points he produces should be at that value or more. So that's why he's on there. And then we have Michael Crabtree. Out of that game, like I said in the quarterback video when we was going over Carr, Michael Crabtree has the better matchup against the cornerback in this game. So expect Crabtree to get his numbers. We have Julio Jones. I mean, he's a must play every week, so we got Julio Jones there on the list. And then we have Sterling Shepard. Sterling Shepard, he saw decent but not great targets last week, but he still found the end zone against Dallas. So look for more red zone actions this week against the Giants. And, they're going to air the ball out all day. So Sterling Shepard is a good play if you want to fade Odell Beckham Jr. When I say fade him, he's going to be, like, say in a tournament, I would get Eli Manning and I would pair him up with Odell Beckham or Sterling Shepard. But if Odell Beckham, his salary is the most expensive salary in daily fantasy this week, so if you want to go with Sterling Shepard, that'll be a good fade play, and then you can get some more strong players because you save the money with the salary going with Sterling Shepard. So he's definitely a good play this week. You have Antoine Bolden. A lot of people forgot about Antoine Bolden, and this is one of my better tournament plays, because remember, you're not going to win a lot of money week in, week out in these tournaments. There's too many people. So what you want to do is sometimes you just want to swing for the fence. So Antoine Bolden would be a player that probably won't be owned. Of course, he's going to have a cheap salary, but he could be one of the main targets in this week's matchup against the Titans. And then we have Dante Moncrief. The Colts going to be getting blown out probably, at some point in the game. A lot of times they'll come back and make it close, but at some point in the game, they're going to be down by 2 or 3 touchdowns. So they're going to air it out. And Moncrief and T.Y. Hilton should be the benefits of that. But I still like Dante Moncrief matchup over Hilton's matchup this week against the Broncos. We got Tyrell Williams. Man, my hats off. Feel bad for all the people who drafted Keenan Allen. He was going to be a good player this year, but fortunately he's out for the season. So someone has to step up and take those targets. So we're looking like it may be Tyrell Williams. Now I will say Dontrell Inman is another play because he actually gets the most targets, or gets the more play snaps. So he's out there on the field more than any other receivers for the Chargers. So don't forget about Dontrell Inman as well. Next we have Tajay Sharp. Mariota loves this kid. They've had good rapport since the beginning of off seasons, and it's still looking like that's their favorite target. He's the most dynamic player on the Titans, and the Titans do want to run the ball, but the Lions gave up 365 passing yards and 4 TDs against the Colts. So it looks like that Mariota will try to air the ball out more, and Tajay Sharp would be the main beneficiary of that. So he's a really good play for your value play in tournaments or cash games for that matter. Same thing with Jordy Nelson. And the Vikings, like I said, they have a good defense, but Jordy Nelson looked good. I was worried about Jordy Nelson because I really didn't know how he would look off the knee injuries, but I mean, he looked pretty decent. I only expect him to get better, and the Vikings, are going to pass the ball, so Jordy Nelson is a good play. And then I have Michael Thomas, which is just like Tajay Sharp as far as your good value play, because he's against the Saints. So the Saints are it's going to be a high-scoring game. So on the flip side, I think that Jennings is going to really focus on Cooks. So I think Michael Thomas could be the surprise play this week coming out of the Saints. Now on to the tight ends. The first one I have ranked number 1 of all the tight ends is Delanie Walker. I just really like the matchup in this Lions game. Like I said, the Lions gave up over 350 yards passing. So other than Tajay Sharp and Delanie Walker, there's really no really main threat to put up fantasy points. So if you do play Tajay Sharp, then don't play Delanie Walker. But if you don't play Tajay Sharp in any lineups, then definitely play Delanie Walker as your tight end this week. He's kind of cheap. He's $6,600 on FanDuel and $4,500 on DraftKings, but relative to the other top 4 tight ends that they have above him, he actually good value this week. So Delanie Walker comes in at number 1. Antonio Gates comes in at number 2, only because there's really nobody to pass it to with the injury to Keenan Allen. So Antonio Gates should be one of the primary targets in this game. And then we have Jordy Reed. Now, if you watched the game last week, Jordy Reed caught 3 passes in the first 3 minutes of the game. It was at like 8 fantasy points. Then they went through the long drought where he didn't really catch a pass until the end of the 4th quarter. But still, I mean, Jordy Reed looks like he's a bad boy. I mean, he's almost like I said it before, he's a wide receiver trapped in a tight end's body. So he's going to be, until he pops up with his normal annual injury of some sort, he should be a top play every week for the tight end plays. And then next we have Martellus Bennett. Bennett's value may actually hinge more on the health of Nate Solder than Rob Gronkowski. If Solder is back, that could free up Bennett to run more routes even if he plays fewer snaps. Last week, Bennett showed to be pretty risky, but he is also pretty cheap, especially on fantasy aces. So he'll probably continue to be in this spot in this ranking until things change, because a lot of time, like I said, it's not the player, it's the value of the salary of the player that can make him a good play for you when you're putting your lineups together. So definitely you want to keep an eye on him this week. And then we have next we have Kyle Rudolph. Kyle Rudolph is a really good tight end. It's just that sometimes it doesn't show in fantasy points, but only 3 tight ends had more targets than Kyle Rudolph in week 1. But also to see him get that kind of attention from Sam Bradford or Sean Hill, that's why I'm putting him in my lineups. Rudolph had 8 or more targets just twice last season, But like I said, with Sam Bradford and Sean Hill, they're actually leaning on him in the passing game, the way it seems to be like that in week 1. So definitely he's a sneaky play. He won't be owned in a lot, so I definitely say put him in a tournament if you need to, but a good sneaky play this week. And then we have Dwayne Allen. Dwayne Allen caught 4 of his 6 targets on week 1 for 53 yards and a touchdown, but I'm not convinced you can just bank on him repeating that every week. Jack Doyle was targeted 4 times and caught 2 touchdowns, and as much as Indianapolis will likely have to throw the ball next week, that's why he's in here as a good play for this week, because they're just going to have to throw the ball to catch back up with the Broncos. And then we have Julian Thompson. He's going against the Chargers defense. Enough said. We have Brent Selleck. I was high on Vance McDonaldson last week, right? But it seems that Sean Hill just was throwing the ball more to Brent Selleck. If you expect Selleck to come in immediately and catch all the passes, that were gone to Zach Ertz, you would probably be disappointed. Selleck is a good blocker, and while I expect him to be on the field more, it's possible that if he doesn't actually run that many routes and get that many targets. But if he does repeat the same amount of targets that it went with game 1, because that's what worked, then he could be a sneaky play to get you a touchdown. But the tight end really falls off after your first 4 or 5 top tight ends. So this is just another play when you're filling out your roster and you need a little sneaky play for a tournament. Don't forget about Brent Selleck. And then next we have Jesse James. They're going against the Bengals. And then we have Dennis Pitta. The Ravens still have more pass catchers than most people realize, but it was nice to see Pitta play 56 snaps, and come away with 4 targets in the game. He is pretty clearly at the top of the tight end pecking order in Baltimore, and he was a fantasy stud not too long ago. So definitely don't forget about Dennis Pitta when you're doing your lineups this week. So for the kickers that we have ranked this week, and like I said, the very first things you look at with kickers, are they playing in the dome and are they playing with good weather? But after you see that, then you really have to pay attention to game flow. Like, really think about it. Don't just guess on a kicker. Like, really think about the game. How do you think the game will go? Will it be a low scoring game, high scoring game? Will you think the defense stall in the red zone? Things like that. So I'm just going to run down these kickers real quick, but they're pretty much just a combination of how I come with the rankings with the game flow, and then where they're playing at, the weather, and things like that. So in order, we got Brandon McManus for the Broncos, and we have Matt Prater, kicker for the Lions. Sebastian Janikowski at number 3 rankings for the Raiders. Stephen Gronkowski, number 4. Then we have Nick Novak. Then we have Gano, which is I really like that play this week, Gano. And we have Dan Bailey. Dan Bailey probably one of the best kickers in the NFL, at least in the top 3. So he's in play. But remember, this will be kind of like a grinded out game if the Cowboys have their way. That's why Dan Bailey is further down on my rankings. Then we have Steven Huska. He's always solid. Adam Vinatieri should be kicking a lot of field goals against the Broncos. And we have Chandler Catanzaro, if I pronounced that right. He should put up a lot of points against the Bucs. So he's also another good play at a really, really good value. So what I would do, I'm really liking Gano, Catanzaro for the Cardinals, and I like Adam Vinatieri for as far as the values. And last but not least, we have the defense. So rank 1 this week for defense is the Seattle Seahawks. I mean, they're playing the Rams. I have Todd Gurley in a lot of my seasonal leagues, so I'm hoping for a bounce back game from Todd Gurley. But if I have to take my emotion and bias out of the picture, the Rams look horrible. They look like they could be one of the worst teams this year. So Seattle's going to stack the box, and pretty much their receivers probably have no chance against Seattle. So they're a top play this week for your defense. Arizona Cardinals a good play. I can see maybe about 3 turnovers for the Tampa Bay this game, coming from Jameis Winston. Not necessarily saying they'll be picks, but I can see a pick here, a fumble here, with the pass rush and things like that. So Arizona Cardinals ranked number 2. This is my favorite play of the week for the defense as New England Patriots, because once you start building out your team, those Seahawks and Arizona salaries this week are probably going to put you in the bind. So when I was building some of my lineups, I just always find myself being funneled down to New England. They're going against the Dolphins. Tannehill's not good. Dolphins not good. Belichick is amazing. So I can see maybe a pick or so in this game. And definitely I can see the Dolphins not putting up a ton of points. So you have New England Patriots. The Houston Texans are ranked number 4. They're kind of ranked number 4 because just overall they have one of the better defenses in the league this year. But I'm not too high this week as a play for the Chiefs personally, because I feel that the Chiefs with Kelsey, the tight end, can torch the Texans like they have in the past, and Cushion, the middle linebacker for the Texans, went out with the injury. And I see a low-scoring game, which could help, is why they're ranked as well. But I really like the New England play over the Houston Texans this week. But Houston Texans still a strong play and ranked number 4. Ranked number 5, we had the Carolina Panthers against the 49ers. That should be a good matchup. Should, have a high floor as far as the point output in that game for the Panthers defense. And we have Green Bay Packers. Other than Adrian Peterson, they really don't have much. So if you can, Packers can hold Peterson to a respectable game, then they should be a good play this week. You have the Denver Broncos is another good play. Denver Broncos are ranked lower this week because they have a good defense. We all know that, but I still think there's going to be some points put up in this game, because as bad as the Colts are offensively, Andrew Luck always puts up points. They even beat the Broncos last year, so be careful with that play, but they're still on the rankings. We got the Jacksonville Jaguars. This was my second best play so far doing my lineups for daily, because when it came down with the New England and I didn't have them maybe $300-400 short, the Jacksonville Jaguars was really the best play for me, and probably for you as well, going against the Chargers. They haven't improved defense. They haven't reached their peak yet, which I think that as these weeks go on, you'll see Jacksonville defense start to creep up these rankings on a week-to-week basis. But right now they're going against the Chargers, and that's another very strong play this week. And we have Baltimore Ravens against the Browns. They're going against the Browns, so that's a good play. And then we have Los Angeles Rams made the rankings, believe it or not, against the Seahawks. The Rams their biggest asset is their front 7 on defense. So if they do their job, wreck shop, it could be a low-scoring game. Remember, Russell Wilson had that ankle injury. He should play this week, but that don't mean he's going to be 100%. And his biggest asset is his escaping the pocket and running around. So if that ankle's bothering him, expect the McDonald's and them to get on him. So this could be a low-scoring game. So if you need the play with the money that you have left over, then Los Angeles Rams is also a sneaky play this week. So there you have it, guys. Those are my week 2 top rankings for each position for your daily fantasy. So good luck to everyone. Hope you have a big payout this week. And also remember to, if you like my video and like the content, leave a like, subscribe to my channel. The more subscribers I get, the more I'll be motivated and pumped up to do many more different varieties of videos, all relative to fantasy. So let me know what you think about my rankings. If you have any comments or questions about your lineups, please leave a message and I'll get back to you. Peace.